When American explorer David Fairchild traveled the world in the mid-19th century, he did more than send back postcards. He brought back the foods of the world. They're now the staples of the American diet.
From avocados to oranges to kale, all were crops he encountered abroad and helped introduce to farmers back here at home. His story is told in the new book, The Food Explorer, The True Adventures of the Globe-Trotting Botanist Who Transformed What America Eats. And we're joined by author Daniel Stone. Daniel, good morning.
Good morning.
Tell us how you discovered David Fairchild, rediscovered, I should say, and his amazing story.
I grew up working on and living near farms. I love food. I eat food. And I heard the story of this man, an adventurer botanist. I had never heard that title given to anyone before.
I don't know that it has been.
And this was 120 years ago that he lived. And he traveled all over the world in search of crops, novel foods like avocados and dates and mangoes that didn't exist here before.
You broke my heart a little bit with this book, Daniel. I'm a Florida girl, and to find that Florida oranges are not native to Florida? What?
No, all citrus is native to China, and very few of the crops that we eat are North American, right? Apples come from Kazakhstan, and citrus from China, and bananas from New Guinea. Our foods came to this country like many of our families did as immigrants and brought here, many of them by Fairchild at the turn of the 20th century.
He left Kansas at the age of 20 for a position as a junior scientist fighting plant fungus for the Department of Agriculture. But this all kind of changed when he met on an ocean liner. He met a millionaire who funded these expeditions.
He was enormously lucky, right? We each get one major stroke of luck early in our careers. This was his. He met on a boat across the Atlantic a fabulously wealthy millionaire named Barbara Lathrop, who funded his travels and invested in him, said, I think you have scientific promise. Here's $1,000. Take it, fuel your travels. And Barbara Lathrop was one of the early philanthropists to American food.
You know, this book also features diplomacy, horticulture as diplomacy, from beer to cherry blossoms. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, Fairchild went to almost every continent in search of better seeds, better breed stock. He goes to Bavaria in 1902, which has the best hops, the best beer in the world, and essentially diplomatically acquires better hops. He goes to Japan the next year and sees the cherry blossom trees and finds a way with the White House to import and negotiate the gift of the cherry blossom trees to Washington, D.C.
So the cherry blossoms we see in Washington, we owe to him.
Yeah, he negotiated that exchange with the approval of President Taft in 1912.
What else do we owe to him, Daniel?
Mangoes. He picked up 58 varieties of mangoes, types of watermelon, seedless grape varieties, kale. The Meyer lemon was the acquisition of one of his teammates, Frank Meyer. Hops in Bavaria. And certainly types of citrus in China all the way to the Mediterranean.
You know, we're a country of immigrants. I was so fascinated to hear, apparently so is our food.
Yeah.
The diversity of food from different countries, how has that helped with what's put around the table in America?
We are a hodgepodge. Everything we eat came from a different part of the world. We haven't been here very long as Americans. Early civilizations in Egypt, right? The Aztecs have been around much longer. They were farming for centuries, for millennia, and we are living very much the lives of immigrants, building a country of not just people, but culinary meals that reflect kind of our newness to this land.
Daniel, what was it that drove David Fairchild, this fascinating man?
He had two passions. He loved plants and he loved to travel, and this was very rare in the late 19th century to travel around the world. And he found a way to fuel his kind of wanderlust and put it to good use. You know, farmers were most of the labor force in those days. They were all growing the same thing, a lot of corn, a lot of wheat, a lot of oats, and no one was making much money. And so Fairchild put his travels to use.
Daniel Stone, fascinating story, fascinating book. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
The book is The Food Explorer, The Adventures of the Globe-Trotting Botanist Who Transformed What America Eats.